According to NASA, the Earth is 4.54 billion years old. And according to the ancient Indian monks, they estimated the age of the Earth as being slightly over 4.32 billion years old. In other words, the ancient Indians, writing in the Iron Age, had a very, very close estimate to just how old the Earth was. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys the mathematical formula they used to come up with that calculation. I'm also going to teach you guys the mathematical formula the ancient Indian monks used to find the presence of God within you. That's coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to Chariot Palmistry. My name is Dr. Sulabh Jain, and on this channel we talk about palmistry as a spiritual tool to help you navigate your life. And in this video, we're responding to one of your comments. Happy Now Olivia made the comment, "I hope you do a series on Vedic Cosmology." And I want to give a shout out to Happy Now Olivia. She's got an incredible YouTube channel where she talks about happiness and how to find it within yourself. So I'll leave a quick link to her channel in the description section of this video. But getting on with her comment about Vedic cosmology. The ancient Indians actually used maths to determine what they thought was the foundation of the earth. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys the exact mathematical sequence they used to calculate the age of the earth within very, very close margin of error of what it actually is. And as I said before, the fact that they did this in the Iron Age before modern technology is all the more impressive. But ancient Indians looked at time in one of four sequences. They had a concept of what is known as a Yuga. And a Yuga is an era of time. What the Indians did was they calculated these four eras called Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, and Kal Yug as corresponding periods of righteousness on the earth. So the Yug, or the era at the very top, was the most righteous, and the one at the very bottom was the most unrighteous. And as time went by from top to bottom, the world became a darker and darker place. According to the Hindus, right now we're in Kal Yug, so this is like the era of darkness. But what's interesting is in the Bhagavatam Puran, they actually assign numbers to each of these eras. And so the Kal Yug went on for 432,000 years. Dwapar Yug went on for double that period of time of 864,000 years. Treta Yug went on for 3 times the length of Kal Yug, so that was 1,296,000 years. And Satyug went on for 4 times the length of Kal Yug, so that was 1,728,000 years. And this whole period of time, it adds up to 4,320,000 years. And according to the Bhagavatam Puran, they define Brahma, the creator god, as being such a large, magnificent being that the time it takes for him to blink his eyes, as in open them and close them, is approximately 2,000 cycles of this era. In other words, when he would open his eyes, 1,000 cycles of time would go by, and when he would close his eyes, another 1,000 cycles of time would go by too. And according to the Bhagavatam Puran, we are just over the halfway mark of this. So just over 1,000 cycles of time have elapsed since Brahma has opened his eyes. In other words, if we take that 4.32 million number and multiply it by 1,000, we get to 4.32 billion years. And remember I said this is an estimate, so they're saying that the world is just over this period of time. So that's where this estimate comes from, that the Earth is just over 4.32 billion years. And just as a side note to all of this, the Earth will be destroyed when Brahma closes his eyes. So in just under 4.32 billion years. The interesting thing with that is, according to NASA, the sun will expand in about 4.5 billion years and swallow up the Earth. So the Indians are actually correct in that assumption too. They not only calculated the age of the Earth, they calculated correctly when the Earth would be destroyed as well. But then the next question comes up is, where did this 4.32 number come from? The Indians didn't pull that out of a magic hat or anything. There's a mathematical sequence behind this. So let's look into that too. And in fact, to answer that question, let me ask you a counter question. Why are there 60 seconds in a minute? Because if you understand this question, or the answer to this question, you can actually unlock the secrets of the universe. And the reason 60 is so important is because that is the ideal resting heart rate for someone when they meditate. If you're meditating and your heart is beating at more than 60 beats per minute, then you're too alert and you'll have trouble getting into like that Zen space, or Samadhi as they call it in India. And if your heart rate is below 60 beats per minute, then you fall asleep. You get really lethargic. So 60 was the ideal number of beats per minute for a monk to meditate. And this was part of a bigger solar clock, because if you calculate the number of seconds in a day, you'll see that there are 60 seconds times 60, the number of minutes, times 24, the number of hours in a day. That gets you to the number of 86,400. Now remember, there are 12 hours of day, so it's actually 43,200 seconds in the day, and 12 hours of night, so 43,200 seconds per night. And according to the Bhagavatam Puran, humans live for approximately 100 years. So if you take that number of seconds, 43,200 times 100 years, you get 4,320,000 seconds. This is why the Indians thought that God was within us, because they calculated the Earth spinning around the sun as basically a geometric shape. There are 360 degrees around the sun, so it's a perfect circle as far as the ancient Indians calculated it. What that correlates to is the ideal heartbeat for yourself to beat with. And the reason all of this is important is because ancient Indian astrology and palmistry wasn't just superstition, it was actually mathematical. They calculated what would happen in the future. That was the basis of their predictions. And if they can calculate within reasonable accuracy how old the Earth is and when it's going to be destroyed, then you can assume that they can calculate accurately what's going to happen to you. Because remember, your life mirrors what's happening in the universe at large as well. And there is a little bit of controversy with this too, because the Indians didn't use a single uniform calendar throughout their history. There were times where they used a lunar calendar, there were times where they used a solar calendar, there were times where they used lunar and solar together at the same time. And so they weren't exact in terms of their measurements of the universe, at least not as accurate as we are today. However, they acknowledged that what they were dealing with was an estimate because they weren't sure about the actual calendar itself. That's why they said that the Earth is slightly more than a specific age. They had like a minimum of what it could be. Now keep in mind though that the Catholic Church, as recently as just a few centuries ago, was adamant that the Earth is only 5,000 years old. So the fact that the Indians could conceive of it being billions of years old is just breathtaking in that all by itself. And that's all for this episode of Vedic Cosmology, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. Make sure you like and subscribe this. Thanks a lot.